Hello everybody, welcome to Our Planet, Our Future, and tonight we will be talking about how to satisfy your travel bug without having to take that flight. So for those of you who don't know, Sustainable St Albans has been running for a bit over a decade, and since about 2018 we've been running a talk series called Our Planet, Our Future, selecting speakers to talk to us about different topics on a whole spectrum of environmental issues. For tonight we are going to hear from Anna Hughes from Flight Free UK. Would you like to come up
Thank
and
you.
take to the stage? Thank you.
Hi. Hi everyone, my name's Anna. There I am. Hello. I thought it would be nice to start with a little introduction to my journey into sustainability. Specifically, I don't fly, which sounds like a confessional, and also then talk about the charity I set up, which is Flight Free UK, which is why I'm here this evening to talk to you about. So it's been 15 years, I think, since I last got on an aeroplane, and this was a kind of culmination of learning things. I think all of us have a moment in our lives where we kind of get to that point where you read something or watch something and that kind of changes your mind on something that you're doing. So I was already extremely environmental when I grew up. I rode a bike everywhere, did all my recycling, all of that kind of stuff, but I was still flying. And I watched a film, The Age of Stupid, which some of you might have seen. It was quite a long time ago now, 2009, I think it came out. And it starred Pete Postlethwaite as a man who was looking back from the future to now, asking, why didn't we save ourselves when we had the chance? And at the end of that film, one of the producers was there, and we did a little Q&A session with her. And one of the questions was, well, what can we do? And she said, one of the biggest things you can do is stop flying. And I thought, wow, okay. Got home, cancelled the flights I had booked, haven't been on a plane since. But then I also wanted to travel. So part of what I'm going to be speaking about this evening is how you can satisfy your travel bug without flying, because I had, as many of us do, that kind of sense of wanderlust and wanting to learn about the world and get all of the things, all of the benefits that we get from travel. I wanted to experience all of that. And I thought, how can I do that without getting on an aeroplane? And the first adventure I went on was cycling 4,000 miles around the coast of Britain. Wow. And the kind of idea behind that was, well, first of all, I wasn't going to get on a plane. So kind of logistically, it was quite easy to stay here in the UK. But also it felt wrong to get to know another country when I knew so little about my own, or I felt I did. And so, I set off and I wanted to find out, can I have this incredible, eye-opening, life-changing travel experience without really going very far at all, and certainly without getting on a plane? And 10 weeks and 4,000 miles later, the answer was absolutely yes. So I'd seen places I'd never seen before. I had discovered new landscapes, discovered new places, tasted different foods, heard different accents, heard different languages. I mean, in North Wales, they only speak Welsh. Felt so incredibly far from home without really having travelled that far, ultimately. And it really opened my eyes and made me think, yes, you can have all the things that you get from travel without getting on a plane. And I wanted to share that with people. And fast forward to 2018, which is when the IPCC report came out, saying we've got 12 years to really address the climate crisis. So all this time I'd been aware of climate change. We hadn't called it the climate crisis then. And I'd been doing my bit to be low carbon, no flying, no car, still doing my recycling. And that IPCC report in 2018 was a real eye-opener for me and a wake-up call for lots of people. And I thought, well, it's no longer good enough for me to just not be flying myself. I need to encourage lots of other people to do the same. So I set up Flight Free UK, which asks people to take a year off flying. I'll talk about that at the very end, which is our method of behaviour change. So it's a challenge. It is, could you take a flight for a year? It doesn't say you can never fly again. It's asking people to rethink things over a short time, because that's possible for most of us. And could that then feed into longer term behaviour change? Now, the reason this is so important is because we're generally aware of the carbon impact of our diets, or of driving, or of the clothes we wear, the way we heat our homes, all of those kinds of things. They've been kind of part of the conversation for a long time now. But when it comes to flights and holidays, we shy away from that conversation. Even though, as you can see from the chart, and it's on your tables as well, if you want to take those postcards home, even though just one flight could completely overbalance all of the emissions that are generated through the other things that we do over the course of a year. So these are based on averages, of course. Driving an average car, average mileage for a year generates 1.73 tonnes of CO2. Eating meat for a year, again, this is an average Brit, 2.06 tonnes. But just one flight, and yes, I know Bali's far away. We're not all going to fly to Bali, but that's per passenger, over 3 tonnes of CO2. And that just illustrates really neatly that if we are to bring our carbon emissions down to a sustainable level and still do all the things we need to do to live, like eat and get around day to day and feed and clothe ourselves and house ourselves, it leaves very little room for flights, especially long haul ones. This vertical line here is the annual sustainable footprint as recommended by the IPCC. So they're the ones who wrote that report I mentioned earlier. By the way, that stands for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, if you were interested. So they've said globally, we each need to be responsible for no more than 2.3 tonnes of carbon each year. And even though most of the globe, like globally, most people have a individual carbon footprint much lower than that anyway, because generally the globe is kind of filled with low carbon societies. Here in the West, we're a high carbon society. So our annual footprint for Brits is around 8-9 tonnes over the course of a year. But yeah, so there's room for manoeuvre there. But that's a good benchmark, isn't it? It's a good illustration. That's where we need to get. Don't worry, guys, if you change your light bulbs, that's how much carbon you can save. But this is where the narrative still is. Like, we're still talking about changing light bulbs, and we're talking about these to an extent, but we're just not talking about this. So that's why Flight Free UK came about. And comparing the different passenger transport modes is also quite eye-opening, and it's quite reassuring, because it means, we can still travel, and these are the differences in emissions for all those transport modes. So right at the very top, the lowest carbon is international rail. That really means fully electrified rail, and specifically Eurostar uses French electricity, which is very low carbon. Nuclear, don't tell anyone. But so yeah, on the continent, generally the electric mix is more renewables and nuclear, so it's lower carbon. But fully electrified lines are good. They're the best ones. You might be surprised to see that as a foot passenger on a ferry, you're responsible for a very small number of emissions as well, mainly because the ferry is mostly used for freight or vehicle transport. So yeah, that's a really good option. Coach is also a really good option, and it's a good budget option. So I'm sure some of the questions later will be about how expensive train travel is compared to flying. Flights are so cheap. But coaches are really cheap as well. Great way to travel, especially modern coach travel. It's not quite the same as when we were younger. Yeah, nice and comfortable and long distance routes now. So they've got electric car as well. And so these are all based on 2 people sharing, which is average occupancy. So rail, local train, typically diesel, so it's a bit higher. Ferry with the car, passenger, again 2 people. Again, 2 people for the car, and then the flight. Okay, lots higher than everything else. This is Department for Transport figures from 2023. They update them every year. Now, this is an incredible statistic, right? If you travel by train on this route, you can save 91% on your emissions. And that is the kind of saving we need to be making to make a dent in our ever-growing emissions from travel. And it's quite reassuring to know that it's such a common route, such a popular route, but it's totally doable by train. And it's a wonderful journey as well. So the emission savings is not just about the emission savings, it's about the benefits and what you get from travelling by train or by coach. You can also go to Barcelona by coach. So coming down through France and feeling and seeing how these two countries relate. If you go in an aeroplane, you don't understand the geography of it. It's very sudden, isn't it? The stepping off the plane and suddenly you're in this hot place. But seeing how the landscapes connect and seeing all the incredible landscapes and skirting the Mediterranean here, wow, going across the Pyrenees, oh my goodness. And right here in the south of France, there are big flats where they have flamingos. Oh, you have to go to a zoo to see a flamingo usually, but you can see them from the window of your train. So yeah, and it's just, you can get there in a day. And the saving is phenomenal. Okay, so this might be a surprising statistic because we often think, oh, it's business flights that are the problem. But actually, business flights make up a small proportion of overall flights. The majority of flights are for leisure, and that is purely leisure, just holidays. That doesn't include going to visit family and friends, because that's here. We'll kind of take that one separately because that's often a reason why you might need to fly to connect with family and friends in an emergency, for example, or just to visit. But this is people going on holiday. We can choose where we go on holiday, we can choose how we get there. And if we can get rid of that section of flights, we're really getting somewhere. Travel is so much more rewarding when you don't fly. So yeah, there are so many advantages. Great views, more leg room, time to work, sleep, read, relax, all of that kind of stuff. I do have a little list of all the places I've been to without flying since I quit flying. And I think I'm just going to get that because I forgot and I want to read it out. So if I just find my bag, sorry. It's in here. Okay, so yeah, because we want to reassure people, of course, that not flying doesn't mean not travelling. So I've obviously mentioned the Coast of Britain one. But yeah, loads of my holidays have been in the UK. I won't list all the destinations, there's lots. But millions of places, including Cornwall, Devon, Snowdonia, Edinburgh loads of times, Cairngorms, the Hebrides, Inner and Outer, Orkney, Isles of Scilly, the Lake District, the Isle of Wight, Jersey, and the other Channel Islands. The list goes on, and they're all proper holiday destinations. Going further afield, so Europe, France, loads and loads and loads of times. So Normandy, Brittany, Paris, Lyon, Provence, Nice, Strasbourg. A bit further afield, Milan, Lake Como, Zurich, Anzère in Switzerland, Basel, Geneva, Cologne, Hamburg, Copenhagen, Rotterdam, Amsterdam, The Hague, Ghent, and I will stop there because it's just an endless list. And they're all fairly close by. That's the Netherlands, Germany, Italy, France, and Belgium, and the UK, of course. But there are so many places on our doorstep. We are so lucky with Europe. And these are places that we fly to. The top 3 overseas destinations for UK travellers are, in order, Spain, France, Italy, all accessible without flying. Okay, so to kind of go back to the work that we do at Flight Free UK, it's about educating the public on the climate impact of aviation, so sharing all this information that I've just whizzed through and giving information and inspiration to travel without flying, so demonstrating that it's possible, showing the routes that you could perhaps try. But also it's about creating a social shift. So a lot of the time we fly because we think everybody else does, or because our friends do, or because that's what we did when we were younger, or that's how it's become normal to get around. But we can disrupt that once we kind of reach that tipping point of people making different choices. That's when things change. By lots of people individually making the decision to be flight free, we change how industry responds. So, for example, as people have moved away from flying in recent years, so there is a movement in the kind of slow travel direction. Industry has responded with extra train routes, extra night train routes as well, so more options in Europe, which is a result of lots of individuals choosing not to fly. It's kind of, I often liken it to veganism. So I've been vegan probably about the same amount of time I haven't been flying. But when I first was vegan, I would go to a pub and I'd say, "Do you have anything vegan?" And they would give me a funny look. And now they give me a menu. And, you know, there's still, like, veganism is still very niche, but enough people do it that it became a thing. And now McDonald's offers a vegan burger. I mean, you know, that is mainstream. So social change is a result of lots of individuals making a choice in the same direction. And that's what we're trying to achieve with Flight Free UK, with the Flight Free Challenge, the 1 year off flying, but also generally pushing the conversation in that direction, raising awareness of why staying grounded for holidays and choosing to travel differently is a really good idea, and here's how you do it. So I'm very happy to take loads of specific questions about how you do it, but I want to just conclude this section by saying this is our pledge. So you've already heard about the pledges that you might want to be thinking about, but we do have this specific one, which is signing up for Flight Free 2025. That's what we're collecting pledges for at the moment. And you can find the pledges, you can find that on our website. So it says, take the Flight Free Challenge, and then you just sign up. And if you do that, you're adding to our number of people who've signed the pledge, and then you get a newsletter every month, which tells you what amazing things you are doing, and here's some ideas for travel. And on our website, there are lots of stories of people who have chosen to go on holiday and for work and for family without flying, including Fuchsia, who's sitting right here, who went to Ibiza without flying, which is an amazing story, and I love sharing that one. So yeah, that's me for now. I don't know if we go to questions now or how it's going to work now, but I'm kind of, that's my bit done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.